It was going through and down at the bottom of a page, there was a little ad, and it said, "It's Goosebumps Week on Channel 11."
Yeah.
And I just stared at it and said, wow, that's perfect. We'll call it Channel 11. It'll be perfect. That's a really bad joke, right?
Please welcome in the creator of Goosebumps, R.L. Stine. As well as the artist behind all those iconic covers, Tim Jacobus. Gentlemen, welcome so much to White Plains, New York, Undiscovered Realm. I hope you guys are having a great time meeting the fans.
I'll tell you why I'm especially glad to be here today. This is why I'm especially glad. I did a book signing in Baltimore a couple weeks ago, and a teacher came up to the table and she said, "Can I have my picture taken with you? The kids all think you're dead."
But you're here and you're alive.
So I'm especially glad to be here.
And things haven't changed?
No, nothing has changed.
Well, we're glad that you're here with us.
So far, so good.
So we're going to just get right off starting, R.L. Did you ever imagine Goosebumps would become the massive cultural phenomenon that it is now when you wrote the first book? Did you have any idea?
No. And also, when we started out, this is true, I said, let's do 2 or 3. It's 33 years later. Wow. 33 years of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? No, we had no idea. And here's the sad thing. Here's the kind of great businessman I am. I didn't want to do Goosebumps.
Mm-hmm. What did you want to do instead?
No, well, I was writing a teen series called Fear Street. Mm-hmm. And thank you. Thanks. And I thought if I did a younger book series, it would screw up my Fear Street audience. And I didn't want to do it. And my editors, they kept after me and said, nobody's ever done a book series for 7 to 12-year-olds, scary books. And they kept after me, and I said, all right, if I can think of a good name for a title for the series, we can do it. And then one day I was reading TV Guide magazine, and in those days they had the TV listings in the middle of the magazine.
Yeah, remember.
And it was going through and down at the bottom of a page there was a little ad, and it said, "It's Goosebumps Week on Channel 11."
Yeah.
And I just stared at it and said, wow, that's perfect. We'll call it Channel 11. It'll be perfect. That's a really bad joke, right? It's really bad.
It's a winner.
No, I apologize for that. But that's really where the name that's where Goosebumps came from that little ad.
Gotcha. What inspired you to blend the horror and humor so effectively to catch the young readers?
Well, I've always been funny. I never really cared about being scary. Mm-hmm. I never planned to be a scary guy. I was always funny. I wrote a bunch of 100 joke books for kids, and I did a humor magazine called Bananas for 10 years for kids. And so, seriously, when in Goosebumps, if I feel a scene is getting too intense or something, then I throw in something funny.
To keep it light.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, you don't really want to terrify kids. We want to scare them a little bit.
Tim, how did you first get involved in Goosebumps? And what was that initial reaction to that assignment?
Well, the approach to me was kind of the same way, except Bob was going, yeah, I'm not so sure about this. And they came to me and said, well, we're going to try this horror series. It's only going to be a couple of books. We don't think it's going to do well, so will you do them for less money than you normally do your covers for? And that was one of the few books where you had already written the first chapter to Welcome to Dead House. So I actually had something to read to get there.
Usually I was writing the book while he was painting the cover.
Exactly. I got a title and a couple sentences.
Yeah.
So I read it and I went, oh, this is kind of cool. I've never done anything like this. So yeah, I'll jump on board and give it a go. But same thing. I was thinking 2-3 books and we'd be on to something else.
Now, and you mentioned that you got like the title and a couple of sentences. going forward after those first initial books, was there any visual direction and conversations between the two of you to
No,
determine what the cover meant?
I'd be working on the book, and I would send Tim maybe a paragraph about what the book was, and I was still writing it, and he would have to do the cover painting. And he did about 100 covers, right?
That's right.
And he got one wrong out of 100. There was only one cover that came in and wasn't about the book. And that was a book called Say Cheese and Die. Do you know that one? It's about these kids who find an evil camera, and the camera takes pictures of things, bad things that happen in the future. So the cover painting came in from Tim, and it was a family of skeletons barbecuing. Had nothing. That wasn't it. The only time this happened. And of course, the editor called me and said, Bob, you have to add a scene of a family of skeletons barbecuing. Because they wouldn't call you. They wouldn't say, change the cover painting.
Exactly.
They called me, and actually I added, if you look in that book, there's a dream sequence where the kid goes to sleep, and he dreams about a family of skeletons barbecuing. And it made the cover make sense.
For me, so when we got to Say Cheese and Die, because that was one of the earlier books, that was the first one where I realized at that point that the humor and the horror were supposed to go together. So for years, 4 years, I thought that was a cover that just really landed and hit on the mark. And then Bob and I are doing a con like 5 years ago, and I hear this story for the first time, and I'm like, oh, this was one of my, I thought this was a good one. And then,
That's really funny. That's funny.
And I'll ask Tim, the covers, and even R.L., the stories, great stories, right? But I mean, you look at those covers, maybe not Say Cheese or Die, but really, what makes those covers so iconic that match up with the stories?
Tim we've had a bunch of cover artists since Tim, but Tim's the only one who realized that it's not just horror. It's funny. The books are funny as well as scary. And his covers, they're funny and scary. They're perfect.
My style is a little more cartoonish, to put it lightly, so it's already out of the real realm. Nothing gets so realistic and intense. A werewolf isn't, going to knock your socks off. There's still an edge to it. And then early on, I was told that I was chosen because of the colors that I used and that they weren't typical of the horror genre. So once they said, oh, we like those rich colors, then that's all. Every time I started one, I was like, all right, turn all the dials up to 11. We're going to make this as much of a carnival as we can. So I think the colors had a lot to do with it.
Tell them the Haunted Mask story, the Haunted Mask. You know the Haunted Mask, that Goosebumps book? Tell them about how your niece and the cover and everything.
So Goosebumps was starting to take off when we got to the Haunted Mask. And I knew what I wanted to do for the cover. And my niece, Jessie, was 11 at the time. And I said, Jessie, do you want to be on a Goosebumps cover? She was thrilled. And she told all her friends that she was going to be on a Goosebumps cover. And I always took Polaroid pictures. And a lot of people here don't know what a Polaroid picture is.
It's coming back.
Yeah, they are coming back. But it was an instant picture. And I brought her over and I sat her down in the living room. And then I had an old Halloween mask there. And I said, okay, Jessie, I want you to pick this up and put it over your face. And at that point, she realized no one was ever going to recognize her on the cover. Exactly.
No way.
So
you
if you remember how horrific the mask was on the cover of the Haunted Mask, it was nothing compared to the face going on behind the mask. She was mad at me for years. Luckily, we were able to get a couple cases of books, and I was able to ship them out to her, and she would hand them out to her friends so she could prove that at least the top of her head was on that Goosebumps cover.
It's really great. The Haunted Mask is the only Goosebumps book that was inspired by something that happened in real life. It's the only one. When my son Matt was a little guy, 4 or 5, it was Halloween time. and he was down on the living room rug, and I'm watching him from the doorway, and he tried on a green rubber Frankenstein mask, and he pulled it down over his head, and he couldn't get it off. And I'm watching him, and he's tugging and tugging. And I thought, what a great idea for a story. I should have helped him, right? I should have helped him. But instead, I'm making notes. Oh, this is a great idea for a story. And that's where that book came from Matt.
So really, that story, you had your niece, you had your son. Are there any other stories or characters that came up from any real-life experiences? Or really, Haunted Mask is that one?
For me, I think that's it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I tried to put my friends and my family, anytime there was a human in the picture, or, if I had a niece or something, to drop them in. But anytime I had to do something that was, not very flattering, I would turn the camera around on myself. So just because then I could, all right, I'm only making fun of me and not, my brother-in-law. So the girl who cried monster. So there's the teachers in the foreground, and you see the girl looking in through the door, and there's a teacher with a turtle in his hand, and I knew it was going to be me, and I thought at the time, oh, how funny, because back in the 90s, I used to wear my hair down to my shoulders, and I thought, oh, how funny will it be if I make myself bald? And so I made myself bald, and I think I just predicted the future, and I became bald.
Thank you.
The Girl Who Cried Monster is about a girl who is in the library and comes to believe that the librarian is a monster. And no one believes her. And in the original this is one of the few times I went too far with a Goosebumps manuscript. Usually my editors say, hype it up, make it scarier. I'm fairly conservative when it comes to stuff, and they say, make it scarier. But in this case, the librarian ate a kid. In the original manuscript. Wow. He ate a kid.
That's good.
And then, everyone said that's not good. That's not good. You can't have him eat a kid. Then I said, okay, I took a bowl of live turtles and put live turtles on and every once in a while the librarian would reach over and chew up a live turtle, which is much better much crunchier.
You like that better?
Much crunchier than a kid, right? And but I think that's the only time that I went too far.
Thank you. I want to open up to some audience questions now, so we'll start with this young man over here.
So my question is, when they started to make the TV show for Goosebumps, what were your thoughts on that, and how did that portray to your books as an author? Were you excited to have a TV show about it, or did you want to just keep it strictly to the books?
No, I was very pleased. It was fun for me. When the original Goosebumps TV show started, I was writing 12 Goosebumps books a year. I was doing one a month. So I couldn't concentrate on the show very much because I had to write the book. So it was exciting for me to see what other writers would do, taking my book and then turning it into their show. And I enjoyed that. I like that process. Of course, it's always nice when people say, oh, the book was better. I always like that better. We filmed the Goosebumps show in Toronto in an old Molson's brewery plant. It was entirely a Canadian production. It was all Canadian crew. We used all Canadian actors. 11-year-old Ryan Gosling is in Say Cheese and Die. I think we used every kid in Canada.
At least once.
Yes, and the reason we shot it in Canada is that they have no child labor laws. So, no, it meant we could film them we could work them all night long. We would just keep them working. There was no rules about having to have a tutor on the set.
Feed them.
Nothing. No, nothing.
Give them to the librarian.
We just kept working them all night. And it was totally, then I would be doing a book signing here, somewhere here, and kids in line would say, how can I be on the Goosebumps show? I'm an actor. I want to be on the Goosebumps show. And I would say, well, you have to be Canadian. And every time they said, what's that? This is a tribute to our school system, right? No one knew what a Canadian was. It's true.
Thank you. That's a great question. See, sir.
You have
Hello.
to be real loud. Yeah.
I'm referencing a letter I wrote 15 years ago. Something I wrote was, so one of the scariest shows you heard of as a kid was called The Shadows and Suspense. I don't know if that's true or not, 15 years ago. But
What was the name of it?
The Shadow and Suspense.
I don't remember that.
Okay, well, I was wrong. 15
You made
years
that.
ago.
You made that up. You made it up.
But regardless, for both of you, where are some of the inspirations that you pulled from? I know you said you have pulled from your son with the mask. So, where are some of your inspirations from? There you go. Sorry.
What was he saying?
Inspirations for you?
What was?
Inspirations for your writing styles.
I don't know. My inspiration is greed and stupidity. I don't know. I've been writing since I was 9. I was this weird kid in my room typing in all afternoon. I don't know why. Why did I like it so much? My parents didn't understand at all. I'd be in there typing. My mother would stand outside my door and she'd say, "What's wrong with you? Stop typing. Go outside and play. Go outside and play. Stop typing." Worst advice I ever got. She's telling me stop typing. I'd say, "It's boring out there. Type, type, type." But I had no idea why I liked it so much. I still do. I still write every day.
There you go. Ready.
What was your favorite book to write and your favorite book to illustrate?
Favorite book to write and favorite book to illustrate?
I guess The Haunted Mask. I think that's my best Halloween story. I think that's my favorite of them. How about you?
For books to illustrate, because the way we worked, where you would give me, like you say, a paragraph and just the title, a lot of the books, as soon as I read it, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Sometimes it was, I read the title and I'm all done. Scarecrow walks at midnight. I know what I'm doing. It's very straightforward.
Right.
So the ones that I liked were the ones that when I read it, I went, I don't know what I'm going to do here. And one of those was egg monsters from Mars. Just because I don't know what an egg monster is, and I don't know what makes him different if he comes from Mars. And it took me a while to work through some thought processes. So I like the ones that were things that, and you can't tell me I'm wrong, because no one's ever drawn an egg monster from Mars before. So I think mine's correct.
Thank you.
No, it was good. Yeah, I wanted to do this is true, I wanted to do a Goosebumps book called Morons from Mars. And I suggested it. That's a good title, right?
It's a great title.
It's a good title. And so I told my editor, and said, I'd like to do Morons from Mars. He said, well, you can't do that. You'll offend the morons. No, that's a true story. They wouldn't let me do it because it would offend the morons. You believe it?
Those poor morons. Right?
Yeah.
Hi. I wanted to ask about the twist endings to Goosebumps books. Is that something, R.L., that you kind of figured out as you were going along, or you figured out the twist first, or kind of how you thought of them? And Tim, I wanted to know what your favorite twist ending Goosebumps book is. And R.L. too.
Exactly what?
The twist endings, how did you develop those? Were those initially planned or afterwards?
No, I outline every book. Nobody likes to hear that. Everyone hates outlines. But I do a complete chapter-by-chapter outline of every book that I write. And I try to get the ending really soon. I try to get the ending first. And that way I can keep the readers from figuring out what the ending is. I know how to keep them from getting it. And the important thing, and people always say, why do you think Goosebumps has lasted so long? And I think it's all the twist. There's so much of children's literature is just so linear and just goes in a straight line and is so predictable. And in every book, I am giving you a serious answer. In every book, I try to have at least 2 or 3 big twists where the reader says, oh, I didn't know that was what was happening. Oh, no, I didn't think that was it. And the twists are really important to me, and I plan them all in the outline.
Yeah,
Sorry. I was just going to ask what twist ending is each of your favorite?
What?
What twist ending of, like, what book has the best twist ending, do you
Best
think?
twist ending
Oh,
in both.
I won't remember. It's too many books.
And for me, because I was only given an outline of the book, I never knew any of the endings. So none of the covers could ever tip the scale or clue in the reader that, oh, this might happen at the end. I was as surprised as you guys were.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The books all have to have a happy ending. They have to. Once, just for fun for me, I wrote a Fear Street book with an unhappy ending. And in the end, the good girl is taken away as a murderer. I think this book was called The Best Friend, Fear Street book. And the murderer gets off scot-free. And I just did it. I thought it was funny. I liked it. I have one unhappy ending. I've never had an unhappy ending. And kids hated this book. They just hated it. And they turned on me immediately. And I got mail. Dear R.L. Stine, you moron. How could you write this book? You idiot. Why did you do that? And the book haunted me. I used to do a school visit. Every single time some kid raised their hand. Why did you write that book? Why did you do that? And I had to write a sequel. They said, are you going to finish it? Are you going to finish? They could not accept it. And I had to write a sequel to finish the story and give it a happy ending. So I've never done that again.
Thank you.
Hello there, hi. I just want to start out saying I'm just such a huge fan of both of you guys. You filled our childhoods with so much great art, great stories. We love you. Just wanted to put that out there first. That's not my question. I do have a real question.
Thank you very much.
So you have this new series, House of Shivers. I was curious whether there's any plans to bring back any of the classic Goosebumps characters, if we're ever going to see Slappy again. And what I would really like, and maybe many of us, is another Haunted Mask story, perhaps where you have Carly Beth as an adult, and her child is now the one who's wearing the haunted mask.
I appreciate the ideas.
Catherine Long. So the actress Catherine Long is on board if it were ever made into another movie. So just that's an idea.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to bring back House of Shivers is pretty much as Goosebumps, but with all new characters and things. I just finished the next one coming out is called One Night at Camp Bigfoot.
Nice.
And I'll tell you about Slappy. I don't really get it about Slappy, right? Slappy is my favorite character and my least favorite character. He's my favorite character because he's so popular and everyone loves him. At Halloween time, thousands of kids go out as Slappy now, which is really a thrill. And he's my least favorite character because I'm sick of him. No, really, I've had to write 15 books about a dummy that comes to life. Can you imagine? This does not get easier to come up with Slappy plots. I actually killed him off in a book. I wrote The Ghost of Slappy, and I killed him. But then I had to bring him back.
So he's never really gone.
Yes, right. I did I gave a talk at a huge theater in Toronto a couple Halloweens ago, and 40 people came dressed as Slappy in the audience. I brought them all up on stage. It looked great, and I looked at them and I realized that I'm in the wrong business. I should be selling red bow ties. I should be in the bow tie business, right?
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank you both for inspiring me to make art in general. And my question for both of you is, how do you know, how do you have a feeling when you're done with a piece of writing? And how do you have a feeling when you're done with a piece of art?
How do you know when you're done?
Like, do you have a feeling when you know?
Well, there's like a length. I mean, Goosebumps books are like 23,000 words. They're like 120 pages. And then, but you're never done. Then I write it. I have very tough editors. Mm-hmm. I hand it in to the editor, and then even after all this time, I have a lot of revising to do. And then you're done when the editor says, okay, you're done.
Mine's way more straightforward. This has to be done on Friday. So that's how every one of the paintings is done.
Right.
Because I don't know how it is for writing, but with art, you can constantly tinker with it. It's never really done. I used to have a painting in my living room that I painted, and I hung it up, and I didn't put any glass over it. And I would walk by it, and I'd walk by it, and it would bother me, and I would take it down, and I'd work on it. And then I hang it back up. And I did that for years. And finally, I had to put glass over it to stop touching it because it's too much trouble to take the glass out of the painting to touch it up. So they're never really done. I find now when I'm a little bit older, though, I used to focus on the things that I didn't like in my paintings a lot when I was younger. And now I can go, the rest of it's okay. Stop with the nonsense.
But it's a process. And to follow up on that question, and R.L., you said it about like the editors. Who's harder on your work, your editors or you? Because, and like you were just saying, Tim, going back and re-looking at things.
I love everything I do. It's my big flaw. I have this horrible flaw as an author. I like everything I write.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky. I have very tough editors. I actually, one editor, I handed in a manuscript and handed it back with 2 words at the top. This was the whole editorial letter. It said, psychotic ramblings. That was her whole editorial letter.
Wow.
So that's a tough editor, right?
Very tough.
Yes.
But as an illustrator, and I'm not doing fine art. I'm not the one creating the idea. The ideas are someone else's ideas, and I'm being hired. So I always look at it as it's theirs. It's someone else's. I'll put it together for you, but you can keep coming back to me and saying, "No, I want this bigger, smaller, lighter, darker." It's the people who don't really know what changes they want, and they use weird words like, "Oh, I'm not really feeling it," or it's like bigger, smaller, lighter, darker. I can take care of you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of that.
Nice. Thank you so much. Next question, please.
Oh, hello. So I have a particular question about the Give Yourself Goosebumps books. I've found them to be very innovative at the time, and it feels like playing a game almost every time you read one.
I can't hear him.
The Give Yourself a Goosebumps books?
Yeah, what about,
Yeah, so how do you innovate that? Like, do you sell like a board game, or do you sell like a book?
Sell them like a board game or sell them like a book? How do you come up with those?
They're actually easier to write than they look. And we're thinking about doing some new, everyone wants to Give Yourself Goosebumps books, and no one's publishing books like that anymore. It's hard to get them to do it. But when I write a Give Yourself Goosebumps, I just take a pad and number from 1 to 100, and then just start writing short little stories with a punchline. So you say, do you want to jump in the river, or do you want to go flying in an airplane? If you want to jump in the river, turn to page 10. And then I'd fill it in on the notebook. Just fill in, keep a chart. It was pretty easy. And then, page 10, you die. And then that's easy to write, because you always die, right? And then you go back, and then kids would always cheat. They go back and then take some other path in the book.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi. So I gotta say, you guys did create a lot of good stuff, good art, good stories. The one thing that's been confusing me is the one called Monster Blood. Like, how does that monster really work? Is it a monster that is made of blood, or its ability is just to, like, how does that work? I mean, I've seen the stories, I've read them, some of them. If you eat it, you grow, and you can become a scary monster, or it's a monster that consumes you. What exactly is this creature?
Can you hear these questions?
A little bit.
Yeah?
So, yeah, he's saying
But Monster Blood has nothing to do with monsters. It's just the name of this, slimy stuff. It doesn't have anything to, it's just Monster Blood. It's just called that.
Yeah.
It's just this green slime that grows and gets sticky and can swallow up kids. But it's not a monster. It's just a thing.
it's great stuff to paint.
There you go.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, how many Monster Blood books have we done?
I don't know. I got good at painting it.
At least 4, I think. It's just stuff that grows and grows. It's a big blob.
This young lady here.
Hi, so nice to see you both. I'm just curious, what do you read as adults? What are your reading recommendations, your favorite authors, your best suggestions for... I'm not sure if you also read horror as well as write it, but just curious.
Yeah, I'm not really into horror. No one's listening, right? I read mostly, I read mysteries and thrillers, and I'm in the International Thriller Writers. We just had our Thriller Fest this week. So I get to, I know all the writers that I read, and I read mostly thrillers, Harlan Coben and Michael Connelly. I'm reading Anthony Horowitz's new mystery, that kind of thing. And I just read, I don't read kids' books anymore. People always ask me my favorite kids' books, but I don't. But someone gave me this book by E. Lockhart, and I'm sure all of you read it. It's been a big hit already for years, called We Were Liars. It's a very romantic teen book about these very rich teenagers who go to this island, very wealthy island, every summer. It's a very romantic book, very tricky, and it has an incredible twist at the end. Just an incredible, heartbreaking twist that you never guess. And the series based on this book, We Were Liars, just started this week on Amazon Prime. And I'm sure a lot of you have already read it because it's been a big bestseller for years.
Thank you. A book that you enjoy, Tim?
So I listen to more books than I read because I can continue to do what I'm doing and then have it be pumped in my head, and it helps me drift away. Lou Alessandro is a former government agent, and he put out a book about UFOs that is incredibly fascinating. Every day I go this way and that way about whether I believe in a UFO or I don't believe in a UFO. And he puts together a very compelling case, but I still, talk to me tomorrow. I'll tell you I do believe, but today I don't.
Nice. Thank you so much. All right, we have time for one more fan question, so I'll have this
Good,
little
nice
one here.
questions.
How many Goosebump books have you made?
How many
Goosebumps in total?
I lost track. I don't know. It's about 100. Who writes 150 books? It's about 150, I think. And we just keep going. I've got like 5 more to write in this contract. I just finished one called The Last Sleepover. Pretty good title,
I like
right?
that.
The Last Sleepover. It's a ghost story.
So as we just wrap up here, I just want to ask, you said you have a couple more Goosebumps books coming out. Outside of Goosebumps, is there anything else that
Well,
we're
yeah,
seeing
I'm
from
real
you?
busy. I have a middle grade novel coming out this summer called Nightmare on Nightmare Street.
Okay.
There you go.
And I have this books of short stories, a series that I do every year called Stine Tinglers.
Okay.
And I have Stine Tinglers 4 coming out in August.
Nice.
And I'm doing graphic novels. My new graphic novel, The Graveyard Club, just came out. I've never been this busy. I don't know. I should be sitting by the pool, shouldn't I? And
It's
why?
a good
Why?
thing to have.
I'm doing a lot. I'm really. I think I'm very lucky.
Absolutely.
And Tim, what are you working on?
Yeah, there's always an illustration on the board. It's a little bit of everything, and everybody asks where these jobs come from. Well, all you original Goosebumps readers are now grown up, and you've become art directors, and you're in bands, and you're writing your own books. So my old fans are now my new employers. So I'm getting a lot of jobs. All the emails start the same way. I read Goosebumps when I was a kid, and now continue the story.
Nice.
That's great.
Let me just ask too, but to finish, where do you see the Goosebumps legacy going down the line? Because I mean, this is something that's going to outlive
me?
Outlive everybody. Let's say outlive everybody.
What are you saying? What?
Generations on end are going to enjoy these books.
No,
so,
it's 33 years is just amazing to me. And now it's, the new TV series on Hulu and Disney. And we just keep going.
Never stop.
Yeah, we've already way out exceeded any expectation of anything. I did other books in the 90s that I think 40 people saw. Yeah. And, they're in my attic and nobody knows them. And yet here we are 30-something years later.
You're still talking
about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's fantastic.
Right.
An incredible legacy that you both
thank you so much.
created for us.
Thank you all for coming today.
Yes.
It's really nice.
Right.
Thanks so much.
Round of applause for R.L. Stine and Tim Jacobus, everybody. Thank you so much.
Excellent. That was fun.
Very cool.
Hey there, this is Nolan North, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Good for you. Very proud of you. Now go watch more. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.